My hearing aid? Yeah. Because, oh, I don't have it. I'm okay. Can you- Ready? Okay.
You can pull that mic to you.
All right. It's May 25th. It's 4:01 and I'm calling the Borough of Beach Haven meeting to order. We have the flag salute led by Mr. Batista. I did read through this, I remember.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty, and justice for all.
Pursuant to the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Act, adequate and electronic notice of this meeting has been provided by posting on the bulletin board in the Beach Haven Municipal Building on the borough website and mailing the same to the Beach Haven Times, the Asbury Park Press, and the Press of Atlantic City. Mr. Batista.
Here.
Mrs. Ball Miller.
Here.
Ms. Lambert.
Here.
Ms. Snyder. Here. Mayor Davis.
Here.
I have minutes for approval without formal reading. The March 30th, 2023 agenda meeting, a March 30th, 2023 executive session, and an April 10th, 2023 regular meeting.
Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion to approve.
Or a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion approved. Ordinance 2023-13C, an ordinance amending the code of the Borough of Beach Haven, County of Ocean, State of New Jersey, to create Chapter 42, Volunteer Incentives, codifying the borough's Length of Service Award Program, LoSAP, for the Beach Haven Fire Company Number 1 and the Beach Haven Volunteer First Aid Squad, to permit an annual cost of living increase as directed by law for LoSAP contributions for volunteer fire and first aid members who are eligible. Final reading.
This is the final reading, so if anybody from the audience wants to come up and make any comments on this particular ordinance, it's your time. Is there anybody that wants to make a comment? Is there anybody on Zoom? See nobody, so shall we have, does anybody want to approve? Oh, I do. Thank you. Got to jump fast.
Yeah.
Adam Ellender, 100 West 14th Street, Fire Chief of Beach Haven. I just want to thank you guys for doing this LoSAP increase. It's long overdue. All the volunteers that I've spoken to from both the squad and the fire company, the other fire chiefs, everyone really appreciates the fact that towns are stepping up and doing this for the volunteers. So thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for thanking us. We're happy to be doing it. All right. Since there's no other comments, do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Good.
Mr. Batista.
I am a member of the fire company, would benefit financially from this, so I am going to abstain.
Mrs. Ball Miller.
Yes.
Ms. Lambert.
Yes.
Ms. Snyder.
Yes.
Mayor Davis.
Yes.
Ordinance 2023-16C, an ordinance amending and supplementing Chapter 141, Peace and Good Order in the Borough Code of the Borough of Beach Haven, County of Ocean, State of New Jersey, to exempt certain areas from regulations contained within 141-6 pertaining to mooring in Borough, Beach Haven, riparian areas. First reading.
This is the first reading, but therefore we can amongst council discuss this. And I know people do have some concerns. So is there anybody that wants to say anything?
I just want to clarify again. With this particular interpretation, or whatever you want to call it, are they allowed to tie up or not at the bulkhead?
No.
No. Okay, that's what we had discussed the other day. And then we talked about putting in some pilings that they could. So, I mean, again, this has been going on for decades. All of a sudden, it's a big issue. I don't understand it. And I would like to try to make it as accessible as possible down there for the people who have always used it. So what alternatives will we have?
Well, I mean, I've had some discussions with a few people on council. Kitty sent a letter out.
Use your microphone, please.
I do think, I like the idea of letting people park there. Mike Batista suggested that we put some pilings out and we give the first options of people to moor there to people that hold a commercial clamming license. And then based on what's left, how many pilings are left or whatever, then we would let people come at no fee, first come, first serve. I mean, I would hope we would honor the people that have been parking there for many, many, many years. So that was a thought, and that would maybe answer some of the questions you had. I don't know. Is there any discussion relating to this?
So that you're asking them to be registered in some way?
Well, one of the things I think that could be a concern, and it hasn't been in the past, but that's because nobody really much knew about this spot, and is that a lot of people might say, gee, I want to park there. I can park there for free. Now, one of the problems with that area is that it gets very, very shallow, particularly towards the east. So it's not a great place to put you. It has to be a relatively small boat. But there could be lots of people that want to go park there because they get a free slip. And this might be a way of anticipating perhaps that problem, because it's become much more people know about it because of all these meetings. It might be a solution to, having a lot of people coming down there and trying to moor a boat. I don't know. I mean, I'm open-minded to whatever anybody else wants to do. I do. I'd like to be able to have that as a spot for folks that have been parking there for years. It does bring back a little bit of Old Beach Haven to me, and I like the idea of being able to help out some of the local folks that still are here, because we're losing a lot of them.
I just want to make one suggestion, is that when we do the rest of the bulkhead, because we did 100 feet so far,
Right.
150 feet so far, and we're going to do the rest of the bulkhead. That's a great idea, to come up with like a plan to, really make this something, if we wanted to go that route, as far as pilings and registering, and maybe using this as, bringing back some of the vibrancy of the clammers and stuff like that. And that would be something that we could discuss during the capital budget discussion in September, when we actually have a plan.
Right. Obviously, we can't do pilings for this summer. So that leads to the question is, if we approve this ordinance for this summer, I mean, can we approve it for the summer and then modify it in next year?
This ordinance just exempts that area and anyone that moors in that area from the existing
Right.
rules that says they can only moor for 2 hours.
Right.
And then it also puts a rule out for all riparian grant areas in the borough that you can't tie to the bulkhead.
Right. And I think if we pass this ordinance today, we could continue as we have been for the last 100 years. And then we can decide after the summer if we want to put the bulkheads out and put some restrictions on it. Does that sound logical? And
Can we
just
do
let
that,
it go
Sherry?
for this summer the way it's always gone.
Mhm.
Okay?
Can I just ask one question? Because all of a sudden this is all coming to my attention, and I'm new to the game, and I want to keep it, I really like to, as it parked there, and, I wouldn't want to take it away from the locals. I think having a commercial clamming license isn't a bad idea. But it has come to my attention about this one homeowner who put in a floating dock and said that, and correct, I don't know if this is accurate or not, that they would put it in, got permission to put it in because they were going to let everyone tie up there. Is that true?
That's not quite right. And I talked to these people. They did go, this dock's been there quite a while because Tucker Murray is the one who did it, and he's been dead for quite a while. But basically, he went to the DEP and got permission to put that dock there. So there is documentation of that. I've spoken to Jason Murray, and Jason is, they'll take the dock out, but they do not charge anybody to use that dock. And they have, both Jason and his mother have said, anybody that wants to pull up on that dock and tie their boat there is perfectly welcome. They don't have any of their own boats on that dock at all. So, and Jason also said, if the borough wants us to remove the dock, we'll remove the dock. So that, the pictures I saw that you sent, I think were old pictures or maybe somebody
Someone
just
sent
pulled
them
up.
To us. I mean, it wasn't me. who sent
Yeah,
them.
well, you didn't send, but I guess I got them via,
Different
but I mean,
press sent
you know,
them.
maybe somebody would pull up temporarily if they're visiting them or something.
I know.
I don't, you know, I don't think they're not wedded to the dock, but they did get DEP approval a number of years ago to put that dock there. And if
Was that
anybody,
approval contingent upon allowing it to be for public use?
no, it wasn't. And at one point in time, they actually had a boat there. And when Tucker died, they sold the boat. So I don't think they've ever had,
Okay.
they've had a boat there in a long time. I
Well,
mean,
I don't
I
have a
just
problem
don't,
with it. This summer, I think we should do it and then look in again, I like Jamie's suggestion and revisit this in the fall since it's already, boats are in the water. How about, I don't know.
I think that's a
That's
good
my
one.
opinion.
Okay. So anybody else have any discussion on the council?
I would say though, that we should not allow parking there. I mean, we've had complaints and complaints about that. And I think 15-minute parking, if you want to, you know, get stuff on your boat and then you have to move it. I don't think it's fair.
We have
able to
installed a
park there.
loading zone there.
But from what I understand from the chief, it's not being.
Well, they have the
inspected.
ability to enforce it.
Yeah, and they move barriers, and I really think that these guys need to know that it's going to be enforced, because I think that's only fair.
'Tis the season.
I know.
Well, the chief isn't here tonight, but we'll make sure.
I know
he
his son
knows it.
made states.
Yeah,
Lacrosse,
that's
Southern
great.
made
That's
states.
right. That's exciting, yeah. Okay, so anybody else on council want to say anything about this?
Just one comment, Nancy. I think this entire issue probably came up and I've only been involved, Colleen, for like 5 months on this. So, but it seems like the neighbors are experiencing some of the disadvantages that are taking place as a consequence of having boats moored there. And I think it's important that we address those concerns, people changing into their wetsuits when they get back off the dock and so forth and so on. So considering the complaints should have some effect on how we structure this in the fall, but I'm in favor of.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, just remember that anyone who lives on an oceanfront sees surfers changing in and out of wetsuits all day long. So I
Okay.
mean, you know,
Right, and
it just goes with the
the
territory.
people that live in the houses where the docks are moored haven't complained, but there have been complaints from other folks. So, you know, we can talk about that, but that's more related to the car issue. So do I have a motion to approve this ordinance?
I'll make a motion, we approve the ordinance.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you.
Mr. Batista,
Yes.
Mrs. Ball Miller,
I'm going to abstain.
Ms. Lambert,
Yes.
Ms. Snyder,
Yes.
Mayor Davis.
Yes.
So this was just an introduction for anyone in the audience that's interested in this. It will be posted in full on our website. It will be published in full in the newspaper. And the public hearing will be held on June 29th, if you'd like to speak on the topic.
Right.
Ordinance 2023-17, an ordinance amending and supplementing Chapter 212, zoning, sections 212-22, sidewalk, curb, and driveway regulations of the Borough Code of the Borough of Beach Haven, County of Ocean, State of New Jersey, to permit 12-foot wide curb cuts and driveway access pursuant to this chapter. First reading.
Again, this is just a discussion among the council. I know our Director of Public Works had some comments and does anybody?
Well, I'm sorry that I didn't reach out to Mr. Little. I should have, and I apologize for that. But can you explain to me why we need to widen our curb cuts? We have a parking, will this affect our parking issue in town?
He brought this up at the last meeting, Sherry. He doesn't feel that the 8-foot curb cuts are really big enough to back in and out of when there's traffic around.
Because you have a 8-foot curb cut, but your parking spaces requires 9 by 18. So you have a 9 by 18 parking spot requirement, but only an 8-foot curb cut. So he decided to increase it to 12 feet because it suits to get in and out of the driveway better.
And it also, if you have one curb cut, it can be 24 feet. If you have two, it's just 8 and 8, you know, so
Yeah.
so, you know, that only adds up to 16. So he figured if you put the two larger ones in, it equals the big one that some people
24,
have.
yeah.
I don't,
Perfect sense.
anybody
It
else?
was my understanding that Frank said that if you have two 8-foot
Curb cuts.
driveways going into one home that has a 2-car garage, that this 12-foot curb cut would replace the two 8-foots. You're telling me
No,
there's going to be
it would be
24
two
feet now?
12-foots. Two 12-foots for each garage. A 12-foot for each
Is that the way you
individual
said that?
garage. So you'd be going from 8 to 2 8s, which is 16, to 2 12s, which is 24.
And I think the ordinance requires driveway access, 21 feet in between driveway access,
22.
or 22, yeah.
Right.
So
You have to have the frontage enough to do it.
That's right. Otherwise, you just have one curb cut.
Exactly.
And what, so I misunderstood Frank's discussion then, and I was here for that. So what is his point that he needs to widen the curb cut to 12 feet from 8 feet now?
It's just not wide enough to maneuver,
Yeah.
That's what he said.
you know.
Well, how many more, I mean, it's been that way forever, right? So
According to Chris Carson, you'll lose a few parking spots.
Yeah, I think you'd lose more than a few.
Yeah, well,
A few is only 2 or 3.
well, for each house, I mean, as Sherry said, also you do have to have the footage in front of the house.
You still have to have
You have
22
to have that
feet
separation
between.
of 21 feet between the two, right?
Yes.
you
I
have
don't really
24
care one
feet
way or
and then
the
everybody parks in front of their house and nobody parks in their driveway to protect the front of their house from any stranger, or, you know, so that's how it works in this town. And so I'm gonna object to this.
You're gonna what?
I'm gonna object to it.
All right. Any other comments on council?
Do you want to you want to,
I'm just saying in the future, I'm just.
Yeah.
I'll talk to
Can we
Frank
table
about it.
this?
yeah,
for
why
a
don't we
month?
table this?
Yeah.
And pull Frank back in and
Yeah.
have a
Okay.
discussion with him, because clearly we don't understand it fully and there's a reason for this and I'm sure he has an explanation. So why don't we table this till the next meeting?
Thank
Fine.
you,
Is there a
Jamie.
motion to table it? We
No.
don't need a motion. We can just table it.
No.
You need to,
Right.
but there's no objection. so
Right.
we'll
Okay.
just move back and send it.
All right, cool.
Ordinance 2023-18C, an ordinance amending Chapter 145, Section 2, fees for passes, and Chapter 184, Section 2, fees for passes of the Code of the Borough of Beach Haven, County of Ocean, State of New Jersey, to amend the current fees for the borough tennis courts and pickleball courts.
All right, I'll
First
just
reading.
mention this because this was my idea. So many people were complaining about non-residents paying the same fee as residents. And so this just ups the fee. Basically, it's upping the fee and residents get a discount on the fee is actually the way I should state it. Basically, this way, like to see this for one summer to see if it maybe does eliminate some of the people that play tennis and pickleball in Beach Haven because they don't want to pay a larger fee. The township does this. The township charges double for non-residents to play pickleball. I don't know about tennis, but pickleball in their town. A lot of people were complaining that, you know, the taxpayers are supporting these facilities and therefore the taxpayers should pay less. And that's what this would do. Is there anybody else on council that wants to address this?
When would this actually take effect?
July 2nd,
And so,
and that's the fastest.
And
way.
already anybody that's bought a pass before July 2nd is going to get the same, what it was
Okay.
last
So
year.
that's my concern in that if the reason for doing this and you know that I was supporting it, but for the reason for doing this is to be able to take a look this summer at the effect it would have on the crowding and the overcrowding on the pickleball courts and, you know, so we could just really have an idea of what we're thinking about. I feel like if they've already, I don't know how many licenses have already been purchased, but is it possible based upon that to actually conduct a study that's accurate. That's my only concern.
Well, we might get a better
Is it worth it this summer?
understanding in August. I mean, so you do, I mean, it's a concern and I hadn't thought about that. I mean,
Yeah,
I've been talking about this for months.
I know.
and
We probably
months
should
and
have done
months.
it months
And,
ago, yeah.
and then it just, then I just kind of said, I really want this. I'd like to see if it works at all this year. But I agree with you, the data is not going to be nearly as good. Because the fact is, it doesn't go into effect till July 2nd. So that would be a concern of mine as well. Although
I mean, if I were going to buy a pickleball pass, which I do not play.
I'd rush
pickleball,
right down there and buy one
yeah,
right now,
exactly,
right?
or tennis.
But, yeah, that would be the concern. But do we really want to wait a whole nother year to see if this works? So,
Well, I just want to, the rates did go up for residents too, because it was 80, now it's 90. We did this before, been there, done that, and there are so many ways to circumvent that, and people did all the time. So, as Sherry said last time, it becomes a bookkeeping nightmare, and everybody has an uncle who has a house, and we've seen that happen countless times. I don't think it's going to be that accurate. We're raising the prices, okay, and at least we're raising them equally, which I do agree with, but I don't know. I just think this is,
well, we haven't done this. I mean, I've been on council since 2010, and we haven't charged a different rate since then. It's been the same since then.
I think tennis has gone up.
Well, maybe, I don't know.
Yeah,
I
I'm
don't
sure it
think so,
has.
because when I was a kid and I used to play tennis on the public courts, I did get a lower fee because I was a resident. And I remember having to go down to get my fee and show a bill. I just think it's one of the things we constantly hear when we're having meetings and talking about things like pickleball in particular, is that it's not fair that all these non-residents play here and crowd our courts out. And my question is, do they really want to play here? Will they pay the extra money to play in Beach Haven? But, it doesn't affect me one way or the other. I just thought it would be a good way of trying to get a handle on whether it makes a difference. Anyway, anybody else?
A couple of things. One, I definitely think our residents should benefit more than non-residents. The courts are being paid for by our residents, and they're being serviced by our taxes that are paid by our residents. So I'm in agreement with that. I don't think that's a bad idea. I think the rates should go up. I think $90 to play on first-class tennis courts and brand-new pickleball courts is a bargain,
It is.
right? I'm not thrilled, obviously, about the wait time that we have on our pickleball courts. I think it's hard to charge someone a fee to play if we're not providing enough of a service. But we've had a lot of discussion on that, and we put that aside for now. So I'm in favor of it, Nancy, and I'll support it.
One of the things I'll say, if somebody from out of town doesn't want to wait around, then they won't pay the extra money and they'll
Maybe
play in the township. And they do. And that's one of the things I am concerned about, that I want to know more about, because there are more pickleball courts in Long Beach Township now than there have been. And all the other communities and all the other municipalities are putting in some pickleball. So, maybe we don't need any more pickleball courts, but this might be a way of finding out. But I do agree with Kitty's comment, but I'd still like to try this just
Sure.
to see if there's any difference.
And then Colleen, as far as the enforcement is concerned, if you live in town, you buy a season pass. If you live out of town and you want to manipulate something for $10, I guess, go to church on Sunday and figure that one
no,
out.
you're right about that, but it's also the fact that if we're going to try to base the need for more pickleball courts on who's a resident, who's not, then that manipulation becomes more of a factor.
Well, I don't think we're going to be recommending more pickleball courts based on this summer, but it was whatever.
Well, it would also include renters, people that are visiting our town that are not, we have to care about them too. They contribute greatly to our, the commerce in this town. And I mean, I think what Nancy's trying to do is see if we are still crowded, and if we're still crowded and we've raised the rates, then, potentially, then we just know whether, whatever. It doesn't mean we're gonna go build more pickleball courts, folks.
I don't think
Just
that's
to, just so we know, so we can, we can
Kitty, it's
decide
my
down the road.
understanding that this is just for a season pass.
I
and that
know.
Anyone that's coming in to rent would pay the same as a resident.
I
for
thought
a
the
daily-
dailies were going up as
No.
well. I'm sorry.
But they're the same for resident, non-resident.
Correct.
No, I mean, right, there's no resident, non-resident.
There's
There's no
daily.
resident, non-resident for renters or daily passes. It's just
I'm
a
sorry.
seasonal pass.
My big concern is just implementing this mid-swing.
Yeah, that's my
That's all.
concern too.
Yeah.
I hate to say it.
I agree with Nancy. Let's get it started. That's all.
Right? Do we have a motion?
I'd make a motion. We move on this.
Okay, so a second? I'll second it.
Mr. Batista.
Yes.
Mrs. Ball Miller.
Yes.
Ms. Lambert,
No,
Ms. Snyder,
Yes.
Mayor Davis.
Yes.
All matters listed under item consent agenda are considered to be routine by the municipal council and will be enacted by one motion in the form listed. Any items requiring expenditure are supported by a certification of availability of funds, and any item requiring discussion will be removed from the consent agenda and discussed separately. All consent agenda items will be reflected in full in the minutes. Resolution 112, acknowledging the hiring of Joseph Virag for the Department of Public Works and Water. 115 is appointing special law enforcement officers Class 1. 116 is appointing another special law enforcement officer, Class 1. 117, awarding a contract to Phoenix Advisors for professional services not to exceed $17,500. 118, renewing a contract with Delta Dental. 119, authorizing an agreement between the Borough of Beach Haven and Ocean Mental Health Services, Inc., trading as Bright Harbor Healthcare. 120, acknowledging managerial appointments to the Land Use Board. 121, authorizing the Joint Land Use Board of the Borough of Beach Haven to conduct a preliminary investigation to establish a condemnation redevelopment area within the Borough of Beach Haven, Ocean County. Resolution 122, approving a settlement agreement in the matter of Drury v. Serbo for the Borough of Beach Haven, New Jersey Superior Court docket, and they list the docket number. 123 is authorizing refund of a duplicate tax payment. 124 is canceling water charges, and 125 is authorizing the refund of redemption monies and a premium to an outside lien holder. Any questions on those? I know we've added a few since you last saw the agenda.
Or would anybody like to remove any of these for further discussion? No?
I had a concern about 121, but I think it's been answered. I just wanted to make sure we were crossing the Ts and dotting the Is, but I think Jamie answered that for me.
I think we're on solid ground there.
That was my concern, that we're not open to litigation or something.
Yeah,
Well,
I
you can
think-
always be open to litigation.
Well, I meant
I think we're on.
right off the bat.
No, and I think
No.
we're on solid ground.
All right, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda, the resolutions?
I'll make a motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Batista.
Yes.
Mrs. Ball Miller.
Yes.
Ms. Lambert,
Yes,
Ms. Snyder,
Yes.
Mayor Davis.
Yes.
Before we move on, very quickly, I just wanted to speak quickly about this contract that we just approved with Ocean Mental Health Services. It's a organization called On Point. I think it's a fantastic program that's being offered to island municipalities for free. And our police department is going to start to utilize it. If officers are dispatched onto to calls that require special services, officers will follow some techniques that this organization will step in and help with referrals and will help get these folks that need help better assistance, substance abuse, mental illness, medical issues, even bills that they can't pay, domestic issues, problems with that the elderly can't handle, sensitive things that maybe aren't in the police jurisdiction. They can refer to this organization and they will step in and assist them. So We recently had a department head meeting. We put that information out to all the departments. So code enforcement, construction, public works, they interact with a resident that needs special help. We can contact this organization and they'll step in and give us those services.
Yeah,
I had the pleasure of speaking with the chief today and on something else, and he mentioned this to me, and it's just great. And it's wonderful that our police force, along with others on the island, correct, are going to be utilizing this service for juveniles as well, which is really important. And he said that Stafford's been it's done very well there. It's been very helpful, and I think it's great and a tribute to our police force.
Yeah.
All of our forces down here.
Stafford
It's awesome.
started with a pilot program and it worked very well. And luckily they've offered the services to us for free.
Yeah, it's great.
Mhm.
It's amazing.
I have a bill list today in the amount of $356,962.12.
any question? Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Mr. Batista?
Yes.
Mrs. Ball Miller?
Yes.
Ms. Lambert?
Yes.
Ms. Snyder?
Yes.
Mayor Davis?
Yes.
Under general discussion, very quickly, the 2023-2024 liquor license will be up for renewal at the next meeting, the June 12th meeting. So far, all of the paperwork appears to be in order. The chief does not have concerns and has not recommended any changes to the licenses. All the tax clearance certificates have been received. We do have one change for this year. The license at the Marlin is considered a conflict license, and that will be renewed by the director of the division. So at the June meeting, when we hold these public hearings and we approve these resolutions, that particular resolution won't be a resolution to approve the license. It will be a resolution saying that you don't have any objection to the issuance of the license by the director, but everything else appears to be in order.
Just to clarify, the only reason this is the situation is because Mr. Batista sits on council.
Correct. That's all I have.
Okay. Is there anybody else in the council that wants to speak to this at all? Okay, so I'm going to open the floor to public discussion. Yeah, come forward. You can discuss anything. Keep your comments about 3 minutes. Thank you. Don't forget to state.
Hi, Sue Sharkey, 10 North Delaware in Beach Haven. Thank you all for your service. I want to start by saying just publicly and to listening public and the people behind me, Compassion Cafe has opened once again at the Seashell. We just finished our second week. It's already like the word is out. It's a happy place. We invited everybody to come. We're open 7 to 11, Monday through Thursday. And I know you all will probably talk about the Memorial Day parade, and we are not, or ceremony, sorry. We are not in competition at all, but we are open Memorial Day. And I didn't miss a Memorial Day ceremony since 1976 until we opened Compassion Cafe. So, again, we're not competing, but I want to invite everybody to come to that. Comments just about pickleball, because I jumped in and heard that discussion about the prices of things. First, I want to say Stafford, I think this week unveiled their 6 brand new spanky new fancy courts that really are beautiful. I think the township extra 4 courts didn't open until August of last year. And when we talk about figuring out, and I agree, and Nancy, I like Mayor, I like the way you say you don't really have, horse in the race. You don't care either. You're a people pleaser. I think that it's interesting to find out where people are coming from, and I don't think, and I'm a recreation, I love recreation of all sorts. I don't think it's a matter of it's not fair that they play here. I think it's a little bit, it's not fair that they demand we build more courts to play here. I think there's a little bit of that. And I just wonder about the charging of different prices for residents and non-residents, how the enforcement, and I don't even want to say enforcement, because yeah, they should be honest, blah, blah, blah. I think there's a lot of people that their check might say, Susie Smith, 115th Street, Beach Haven, New Jersey. They might really think they live in Beach Haven, New Jersey. And I wonder if that lays on the attendant, like, and what constitutes, like you said, the renters, the guests, everything, what
Well, I was wrong on the renters,
constitutes?
They don't pay.
Say it again?
Extra.
I'm sorry.
I was wrong on the renters
Well,
phase.
But
stays
really,
there.
what constitutes?
Forgot.
You know, for many years, I raised my kids in Manahawkin after growing up here and then being an adult in an apartment. But when we bought a house, we raised our kids in Manahawkin, but my parents still lived here. You know what I mean? So I just
Yeah.
think it's sticky,
30
and I'm just
seconds.
putting it out there as far as the attendant, and it's not necessarily the consumer's fault either, because some of them really don't know where they live. And I don't know, I'd be willing to go down there. You know, I'm kind of like a pit bull. I'd be willing to go down there. Fridays, I'm off. The Compassion Cafe is not open on Fridays. And I could just go down and just do like a survey of, you know, there's nothing, nobody's in trouble for anything if we really want to find out. Like you said, should we conduct a study or something like that? So that's my 2 cents. But again, I think there's other really good courts that were not open this time last year. So again, thank you.
Thank you. And if you want to do an informal study all summer long, that'd be awesome.
I can't do it all summer.
Well, I know, but Fridays.
It wouldn't be a valid study if I'm only doing
Right.
like
I
2
know.
days.
Well, on Fridays, we'll know.
Yes, please come forward. No, wait, oh, that's fine. Get in the line.
Hi, good afternoon. My name, is Carol Rockefeller, 2117 West Avenue. I am here just to speak for something that I thought was on the agenda, but was not on the agenda, and that's angled parking on West Ave. I've looked at the plan. I live right on the corner of West and Leeward, and daily I see toddlers, people on bikes, walking, and I am not a fan of angled parking. I'm scared to death every time I drive into town and I see people in front of Murphy's or the drugstore, and they're riding their bikes with angled parking. So my fear is that if we do have angled parking on West Ave, we are going to have people who are going to be rushing to and from a game or a match, and we are risking potentially the lives of my dear grandchildren. So I am, and my husband Gary, we are vehemently opposed to angled parking on West Avenue. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Good afternoon. I have a question, and I really
State your
have,
name and address.
Tony Gambles, 1 Marine Street. I have a comment and a question. My comment is what Nancy said about charging more for residents and non-residents. Wouldn't that come back to bite us with beach badges? I mean, is there a difference? Do residents pay less for badges than non-residents?
We have to
No.
have the beaches open to all. We
No,
we
I'm
permitted-
not talking, I'm talking about the fee we pay as a resident is the same as a non-resident.
It's a federal beach, though. We don't. have
Okay,
one- yeah.
so that answers my question. So it has to stay the same.
Right.
The other thing is, I hope that we have more people checking our badges this year, but I know how hard that is to hire young people to walk our beaches. My other question, last one, is I am a trustee for the Long Beach Island Historical Association, and every year we try to schedule all our events. Is there someone or a committee that schedules all the events, or is there a place we can go to find out what's happening when, so that we don't double schedule and we can work and make that the season last?
Mary Claire in our office.
I
does
do
an
work with
amazing
Mary
job, and
Claire.
She has a whole spreadsheet.
Does she?
There she is.
Oh, Mary Claire. So Mary Claire, like, should we come to you and just say what's going on for the year?
I created a new page on our website called an upcoming events page.
Okay.
It's under the recreation page, and every person that's applied for a special event, their date and time and all of their contact information is on the calendar.
And if we're going to book, we should look at that, and then we don't just put it on there, don't we? Shouldn't we have it approved by someone?
What are
or-
you booking? Our
Well,
public,
you know, if we
public
wanted-
spots?
Just activities, like we do a ghost fest, we do a Christmas, we did the psychic fair, so that we don't have 3 things going on at one time for
So if you're booking public spaces, like Ron works with me and I've put up those events for you guys.
But we don't want the public space. We want to just know what is happening.
So that's where you would find out what's happening, is on
Okay.
that website. And then you can judge for yourself whether or not you want to have an event at that same time. We're not going to post other people's events unless it's on
Okay.
public space, but you can go on and everything that's been applied for is up already. And then decide if you want to do some at the same time or not.
Because I'm thinking of celebrate the season, how so many things are going around at the same time, and it would be nice to spread it out, but they aren't using public places, so.
I think that's something maybe the community has to get together and
Right,
do.
that's what I'm
We
thinking.
can only do what,
Yes.
affects our public property. But the Sandpaper does have a list of all events. I mean, the newspapers do, but that depends on who reports them and how long in advance they do. Maybe you could get involved trying to organize something.
In your spare time.
Anyway, I'm going to look at that website. Joe's saying, no
Beach Haven
thanks.
Chamber of
No
Commerce,
thanks.
that's
No,
the thing.
about 5 years ago, I sat down at a meeting with Deb Whitcraft at the Maritime Museum, and she had a lot of different groups in at the time, and they were doing just that because they discovered that they
Yes.
were conflicting too much.
That's what we
And
need to
it was
continue.
counterproductive. I don't know that group still exists. I would call her and see if
I
it
will
does.
call her.
And
See
if
we can
not,
get something together. And
Chamber of Commerce would definitely be the way to
maybe
go.
Deb will organize it.
She did once upon a time.
Okay, thank you. But Mary Claire, I'll use the website.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tony.
Anybody else? Anybody on Zoom? Is there anybody on Zoom?
No.
Okay.
Good evening. Ken Bortner, 528 Leeward. All of you, for the most part, run for election every so often. What is it, 2 years or something? Is that 4 years? Well, I think we ought to have a similar provision, maybe a shorter time frame for some of these issues like the skate park and the pickleball. Because what's happening is that every meeting, someone's bringing up, oh, pickleball, if we have enough demand, maybe we need to take another look at it, build more courts, spend more money. Whereas I think if we had a bullpen provision, which is, we get to debate the issue, yes or no. If it's no, we put it in a drawer for a year and then reconvene and take another look at it down the road. What's happening at these meetings is some of you say, we'll take a look in September when we have a recreation review, or, we'll do a study or a survey. And, if the demand for pickleball is overwhelming, we're going to take another look at it. So that's the reason we're coming to all the meetings now, because we're afraid that there's no defined time frame when some of these matters are going to be decided. So, we have to show up and defend our position, for better or for worse.
That's a good point. But, it does take a long time to get anything like this going. It doesn't happen overnight. I mean, money has to be allocated for the different projects and so on. There is a master plan. It would be nice to have a strong Parks and Recreation group of people that are working on that can look at those kinds of issues over time. I never heard of pickleball till 5 years ago. So there's all of a sudden now there's this new sport called padel. The next thing we're going to want that, somebody's going to want that in town. But I don't think anybody's going to, it's not going to happen overnight. That's what
Well, all I'm saying is perhaps, when we consider a sport, whether it's pickleball or the skate park or a putting green or an in-ground swimming pool for kids or whatever it happens to be, there's a defined time frame. We review it, look at the costs, the benefits, and then decide yes or no. And then if it doesn't get carried, we put it in a drawer for a year, and then we come back and take another look at it rather than every month. Well, maybe we might, if we get this money or if we get enough support from the community, And then as a result, we're going to be here every month along with you all.
That's a good idea.
The other question I have is who originated the idea of angled parking on West Street?
Well, I think I can speak to that because I think it might have been me. And I'm sorry because I'm sorry about the confusion about it. It seems that a lot of people, and I've gotten many emails that I've responded to and some that I haven't, but we have, when pickleball came up in the fall, in the winter and was discussed, and many emails to all of us with support and complaints, and objections. And many of the objections were that it were already have such a parking problem and there's such an issue with parking. And so I said, well, why not? I feel like we have an obligation to the neighbors there, regardless if pickleball expands or not, because of things that I'd like to mitigate some of the quality of life issues that they're experiencing or say they are experiencing. So that was the reason that I thought, oh, well, maybe we should put in angle parking there. I think you would, you get 6 more spaces. It would help with that. Maybe some signage about, be more mindful of the neighbors and that truly, that is why I brought it up. So I personally have heard a lot of your, I don't know how you feel about it. I think that you said you were against it. I
am against it because you have this law of unintended consequences.
Yeah.
You have
So, we're not
more
supposed to do
people,
back-
more cars, more, people trying to crowd into a
Well, you
small
asked the
space.
question and I answered it, and I know we're
Well,
not
no,
supposed to do
I
it back
appreciate
and forth.
that,
So
yeah.
that is where it came from, and I know that that I'm taking that, of course, into consideration
Okay,
moving
thank you.
forward. And thank you for your concern.
Anybody else?
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. I'm Jim Cadmus, 327 Pearl Street, Beach Haven. Pillar Design Studio, who I believe the borough is working with on the design of the new skate park. It was interesting to see their promotional video showing many skaters with absolutely no safety equipment on whatsoever, which I think is a very poor example to be setting for the community. And I would highly recommend that whoever communicates with them states that to them, because that sets a very poor example. Yesterday afternoon, about 5 o'clock, one skater was out on the tennis court, jumping over the benches, making an enormous amount of noise. And that's just one skater yesterday afternoon. And that happens quite often. And that individual had no safety equipment on whatsoever. So when I talk about the objections that the entire neighborhood have about putting a skate park on Walsh Field, one is the noise pollution, the second is the quality of our life, and the third is our property values. Other other options, put in a playground for the families and their children. Hire a shuttle bus to take the kids to the mainland 3 or 4 times a week. Add another bocce court, because there used to be 2 real nice bocce courts there. On Friday last week, 2 bocce players are out there pulling the weeds out of the bocce court so they could play. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jim.
Anybody else?
Hi, Sharon Ryan, 333 Pearl Street. I just wanted to echo what Jim had said about the importance of the safety equipment. And I'm not sure if you're aware, but there was an article in the Sandpaper just published yesterday that the new skate park that they've just opened, they're having problems already.
Where's the new skate?
The new skate park in Little Lake Harbor Township.
Okay.
So it's only been open, I think, barely a week. The skaters are not abiding by the rules. They've gone so far as to now publishing an article in the, the article's in the Sandpaper, but it's also been published by the school board, because they're now telling the parents and the children, you need to be wearing protective equipment. They're refusing to wear it. This coincides with the articles that I did send many of you that talked about that being an issue. And we're seeing it firsthand. It's only been 2 weeks that they've been open, and it's a brand new park. I would think that the kids would at least be trying to comply with what they've been asked to do. And what they had just mentioned here was that they're planning shut down the skate park. So it's a lot of money to put forward if in fact the same thing happens here. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Anybody on Zoom?
I don't
No?
see any hands up.
Nobody else in the audience? Oh, okay. I was going to close the floor.
Sorry.
Got to jump fast.
No, Walt Ryan, 333 Pearl Street. Just two questions. The first one on the agenda 117, the Phoenix Advisors for 17,500. What was that for?
The what?
They're on the resolution within consent agenda, number 117.
It's not necessarily, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I just want to
No,
answer.
that's
It's
fine.
not necessarily for 17,500. That's a legal threshold that we could do certain contracts. So it's up to that, not to exceed that amount.
Okay.
It's for some financial services and advisement of borough operations that we need an advisor for.
Okay. All right. My other question was just, I don't think I heard the difference between the fee for passes between resident and non-resident for the season pass. How much was you were increasing that to?
The residents were getting like a $10 discount. Was that what it was?
Residents were at 90 and a non-resident was 110.
Okay. My comment would just be, if you're trying to dissuade the non-residents from using the borough's facilities, that you might increase that more. I mean, you're saying Long Beach Township was double. Is that
Well,
correct?
that Long Beach Township is $80 for non-residents and 40 for residents.
Okay.
So ours is still much higher than theirs.
Okay. But again, your comment to
I always
to
thought
dissuade
about
them
that
was.
too.
yeah.
You know,
Okay. That's all I wanted to say.
Yeah.
Thank you.
thank you. Anybody else?
Hi,
Hi.
Ann Pascas, 306 Cove Lane. On the fee, what I want to ask, is tennis fee going up also? The tennis fee is $90 now and $80 if you purchase your pass by June 15th.
So if this ordinance passes, a daily pass would stay at 7, a weekly pass would stay at 30. Preseason, youth, or regular would no longer be an option. There would only be a resident season pass for 90 and a non-resident pass for 110.
And that'll be tennis would go up to 110 for a non-resident.
Correct.
All right, thank you.
Thanks. Anybody else? Nobody else? All right.
We have one on Zoom.
We have one on Zoom. Okay.
Yeah. Corinne O'Connell.
Hi, good evening, everybody. It's good to be with you. There's just something I just wanted to bring in that space. Sue Sharkey's comment about.
Can you state your name and address for the record, please?
Oh, sorry, Sherry. I thought you got me. Corinne O'Connell, 331 Maryvale Avenue.
Go ahead.
I'm just piggybacking on Sue's earlier comment about the expanding number of courts. And it was just interesting. I saw earlier in one of the business journals that Little Egg Harbor, there's an indoor 8 or 10 court indoor facility that just opened, pickleball shot or something along those lines. So it's also interesting of what's emerging in the private market space in pickleball. And yes, indoor facilities, looking at that revenue as the driver. So I think something else for, as we're looking at, as you all are trying to, assess what also is emerging in that space and meeting that need. That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Going once, going twice. Okay, I'm closing the floor to public comments. And we have now final remarks by council. And you want to start, Colleen?
Sure. Just want to wish everybody a happy Memorial Day. Be very safe and careful out there because it's already crazy. And, as Sue already mentioned, plug the Compassion Cafe while I'm at it, but also try to catch the Memorial Day parade and service. If you haven't been there before, I think it's always a great place to attend. Thank you.
Also just remind everyone about the parade on Sunday. Be careful this weekend. Be mindful of.
The parade is Monday.
Monday. I'm sorry. I am really off my game tonight. Monday. And just to remember everyone, this weekend, be safe, more traffic, more people not, paying attention, lights are on, be very careful, and just, as always, remember all of those who have served. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
Well, the lights are on.
Yes,
I
they
drove
are.
to one this morning.
Worst
I
day of the year.
Stopped halfway in the boulevard and backed up. Everybody that's here, the initiative this summer, I've been talking about it for a while, is we've asked the police department, we're asking motorists to be courteous to the pedestrians that are enjoying and vacationing here in town. And so we want motorists to stop for pedestrians that are in the crosswalk. And we want pedestrians to cross in the crosswalk. So we're asking for motorists to stop and allow the pedestrians to cross the road. And we want pedestrians to cross in the crosswalk. So everybody that's here and on Zoom that's listening, let's try to make this work. I think it's going to benefit our town a whole lot. And that's about it. Thank you all.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Jamie?
I hope everyone has a safe and wonderful Memorial Day. Enjoy the time with your family, friends, and neighbors, and I look forward to the parade on Monday.
And I'll just say ditto and thank you for coming, and let's adjourn.
Thank you.
So moved.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good